Dear students, in this lecture module, we will be continuing with our ongoing chapter, Chapter 3, Plant Kingdom. We'll be studying about pteridophytes. They are the first terrestrial plants to have vascular tissues. Xylem have tracheids and phloem have sieve cells. But there are some exceptions to it. So let us begin with pteridophytes. The habitat is cool, damp, shady places. They grow well in sandy soil conditions. The marshy areas, example, Isoetus. Aquatic areas, the basic pteridophytes are Azolla, Salvinia, Marsilia. The name pteridophytes was first coined by Ernest Haeckel. They are called as vascular cryptogams or botanical snakes. They have the vascular tissue, that is the conducting element, which is referred to as the xylem and the phloem. Xylem is required for the transportation of water and minerals. Phloem is required for the movement of food from leaves to the other part of the plant body. They include the horsetails and the ferns. Talking about the pteridophytes, in bryophytes the dominant phase was gametophyte. But in case of pteridophytes, it is the sporophyte, which is differentiated into root, stem and leaves. They have well differentiated vascular tissues. In case of pteridophytes like Selaginella, the leaves are very small, called as microphylls. In certain pteridophytes like ferns, the leaves are large, called as macrophylls. Talking about the economic importance of pteridophytes, they are used as medicinal plants. Example, rattle fern, ostrich fern, bracken fern. They are also used as ornamentals for decorative purposes, which include asparagus, Dryopteris, actinoperil, to name a few. The sporophylls are the leaves that bear sporangia on their abaxial surface. They are called as the sporophylls. So the leaf that bear these sporangia are called as sporophylls. In case of some pteridophytes, the sporophyll form a compact structure which is called as strobili or cones. Here we can see that the sporophylls, they've got the black colored structure referred to as sori. The sorus contains the immature sporangia which bears the sporogenous tissue. The mother tissue is diploid, which undergo meiosis to produce haploid spores. In case of some of the pteridophytes, the sporophylls, they form compact structures which are referred to as the strobili or the cones. In case of pteridophytes, we can see that the gametophyte, which is green photosynthetic and gives rise to the gametes, the male and the female gametes, is reduced. The thalloid body is reduced and the sporophyte becomes the dominant stage. Sporophyte in ploidy, it is 2n, whereas the gametophyte, the ploidy of gametophyte is n. This is the diagrammatic representation of the fern Prothallus. The sporangia, they'll produce the spores which are haploid in nature as they undergo meiosis. Here, this is the spore which is produced inside the sporangium from the spore mother cells. The ploidy of spore mother cells is 2n. It produces haploid spores. These haploid spores will give rise to the haploid gametophyte, which produces the male and the female gamete, which fuse to form zygote, and then zygote is diploid in nature. it will give rise to the sporophyte, which is again diploid in nature. Talking about the prothallus, thallus or thalloid body is the undifferentiated body. It requires cool, damp, shady condition to grow because it needs water for fertilization. In the diagrammatic representation, we can see the archegonia, that's the female part which produces the egg, and the antheridium, which is the male part which produces the antherozoids. Fertilization takes place between the male and the female gamete to produce the zygote. Talking about the reproduction, as can be seen in the diagrammatic representation, the gametophyte of the prothallus is reduced, which gives rise to egg and the sperm, which are haploid in nature. They fuse to produce zygote, which is diploid, and that gives rise to sporophyte, which is again diploid in nature. The mother cell, spore mother cell, will undergo meiosis to produce haploid spores. These spores again give rise to the gametophyte prothallus, which is haploid in nature. The characteristic feature of the pteridophyte is that they produce different kinds of spores. They are the ones which gave rise to heterospory. The event is precursor to the seed habit. The female gametophyte is actually retained on the plant or the sporophyte, and development of zygote takes place within the female gametophyte. That's a precursor to the seed habit, and that's an important step in evolution. Spores which are produced from the mother cell, they could be either homosporous or they could be different in size, that is heterosporous. The pteridophytes which are homosporous are example Equisetum, Lycopodium, Pteridium, and majority ferns. Heterosporous pteridophytes include Selaginella, Azolla, Marsilia, to name a few. In heterosporous condition, two types of spores are found. Form the small microspore, and here can be seen in the diagrammatic representation, and the large megaspore, which will give rise to the female gametophyte in future. Talking about the megaspores and the microspores, megaspores will give rise to the female gametophyte, whereas the microspores will give rise to the male gametophyte. The female gametophyte are retained on the parent, and that gave rise to the seed habit. Within the female gametophyte itself, there will be formation of young embryos. The formation of seed habit is an important step in the process of evolution. Talking about the life cycle or the reproductive cycle, basically how it operates in case of pteridophytes. So, in case of pteridophytes, the body is reduced. The gametophyte basically is reduced, which is haploid in nature. And we can see that the sporophyte, it's a dominant phase, which is diploid in nature. The sporophyll, they will bear the sori, which produces the sporogenous tissue. The spore mother cell will undergo meiosis to produce the haploid spores. Now these spores, they will give rise to the gametophyte, which is haploid in nature. The prothallus is reduced, which will bear the male and the female reproductive organs. That is, it will produce the male gamete, that is antherozoid, and the female gamete, that is egg. The fusion in the fertilization will take place to produce zygote, which is diploid in nature, which will give rise to an embryo, which is again diploid in nature. Now, this diploid embryo will give rise to the diploid sporophytic plant body. So, thus the sporophyte which is produced, that is diploid in nature. In this module, we carried out detailed discussion on the pteridophytes. The different classes, when we talk about of the pteridophytes, they are basically Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Spinopsida, and Pteropsida. The examples are Xylotum. In case of Lycopsida, it is Selaginella and Lycopodium. Spinopsida, Equisetum. Pteropsida includes Dryopteris is one example. Talking about Psilopsida, so when we talk about Psilopsida, that's the oldest or most ancient vascular plant, where the plant body comprises of rhizome, leaves and rhizoids. Xylotum is an example of, as we can see here in the diagrammatic representation, it's an example of living fossil. Talking about the other classes, they include the examples like Selaginella, Equisetum, Adiantum, to name a few. In this module, we had a detailed discussion on the pteridophytes. Hopefully, you must have understood all the concepts thoroughly. Thank you.